from participants to the extent feasible. So with that background, let me ask all the participants to put their see, very good morning to all those who are putting the message in the chat. Let's do one thing. Let's have some inputs from the participants as to what are the problems that we are facing in research, teaching and learning, for which we might find some solution through ICT. So can we hear from the faculty members as to what are the problems of research supervisors or research scholars? You may have your own research scholars, or most of us would have been research scholar at some point in time in our life when we were pursuing our PhD. So what are the problems? Probably for those problems, how can we find some technology enabled solutions is what we will try to. So let's hear from the participant for 1 or 2 minutes. Please specify the problems as you see for the research, for the teaching learning. Mention it in the chat box. All participants are requested to mention the problems that they have observed, or they have seen, or they have thought through related to research, related to teaching and learning, which we can try to solve through the ICT. So I can see very diverse participants from different cities, different parts of the country. Very nice. We have. Let's hear from the participants. What are the problems that we find as teachers in the process of research and teaching and learning that we would like to be solved? So can we hear from the participants in the chat box for a minute or two, so that by the time we finish this session, we'll come back and see whether the problems that we had identified at the beginning of the sessions, are we in a position to find some practical solutions to those problems that we can take away from this session and try to implement it from tomorrow. So what are the problems? Can we hear from the faculty members? What are the problems? Okay, so one of the participants mentioned some problems.
Sir, lack of infrastructure facility in the classroom or university.
Very nice. Please mention it in the chat box, so we'll be right. Okay, so can we? I mean, there are some problems that people have mentioned, like privacy and security. We don't. I'm just repeating so that others can also. We don't give any dedicated time for research. We are getting overburdened with academic and official work. Okay, cool. Anything else that we see? See, one. I mean, this question I have been lack of resources, lack of adequacy of the infrastructure, no proper class library, funds. Okay, all these problems, true. So, how can we minimize the impediments caused by these constraints or limitations and still move forward in research, teaching and learning? And how can ICT help us in that direction would be the focus of our discussion. Proper faculty, funds. Okay, very nice. So they are practical issues, practical challenges. So these problems, some of which are mentioned: lack of infrastructure and no information about the area of research, proper facility, proper. Very nice. So we will be touching base. Our interaction will be trying to touch base on how can we minimize the impediments caused by these constraints and still move forward, because we are living in a practical world. In a practical world, there are always constraints, right? So how do we manage those constraints? How do we apportion and share the resources so as to achieve, despite all, okay, there are technical challenges, fine, absolutely true. So digital divide among learners, very true, very true. So we will be by the end of this session. Okay, so a lack of smart classes. Okay, cool, very nice. We will be touching this. Let's move to with our slide, and we will see by the end of this session that are we in a position to address some of these problems by so before we get into the discussion of technology, we will be talking about a brief history of what is called PPT. This PPT is not PowerPoint slide or PPT slide. It is actually it's called golden triangle that we will learn shortly about. So there was a gentleman called Levitz, Dr. Levitz, and he had
Sir, sorry to interrupt, but slide is not moving.
slide is not moving. Huh? Just a minute. Let me.
Yeah, now it's moved, sir.
Sir, moving.
Okay, okay, fine.
Now it moves, sir.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay, fine. So let me. What is visible right now on the screen? Can somebody articulate, please?
Levitt's diamond model.
Third slide.
Okay, fine. So we have a brief history of something called golden triangle. So once we understand the golden triangle, we'll understand how the excellence can be achieved through use of technology. So allow me to go through a few slides to talk about the Levitt's diamond model. So there was one Dr. Harold Levitt. He was actually an American professor, and in 1964 he had actually proposed something called Levitt's diamond model, and he was very he was actually widely invited professor in various companies on how the problems the companies are facing and how it can be solved. So after lots and lots of I'd request all the participants to kindly stay muted until you have to speak. A humble request to all the participants to kindly mute yourself.
Please.
All participants are
Anjali ma'am, please mute yourself.
and if there is any technical host, kindly mute all participants except the active speaker. So Dr. Levitt actually his diamond model is based on the principle that an organization has 4 major components that are all interdependent, and those 4 components are basically what is visible on the screen: task, people, structure, and technology. So this is what was called Levitt's diamond model, and Dr. Levitt, what basically he did is, here is the diagram that is showing the closely knit interdependencies among all 4 of them, which means tasks, structure, people, and technology. So the fundamental notion is that any type of change or redesign in one component shall affect the other 3. So let us try to correlate this to some changes. See, there are 2 types of changes. One type of change is which the organization is doing in a planned manner, right? But there could be another type of change which may be beyond the control of the organization. If I request all the participants in this meeting room to look back 3-4 years back, we all had seen a phase of COVID pandemic, isn't it? There was a massive change in the entire paradigm of not only our country but across the globe. We changed it from physical mode to a virtual mode, isn't it? Do we remember? So in that process, all these respective ministries had been requesting, persuading, funding projects, and seeking use of technology for enhancing excellence in various fields, in research, in teaching, learning, in e-governance, in administration, and so on and so forth. But suddenly, the external compulsions caused by COVID pandemic forced us to change at a pace much faster than we would have even thought about. We were prepared. So once we went through the COVID pandemic phase, we realized the bottlenecks in the infrastructure, whether it was healthcare infrastructure, whether it was our IT infrastructure, whether it was classroom infrastructure, whether it was lab infrastructure, whether it was training for the faculty members, for the lab staff to switch from physical mode to virtual mode, was tremendously subjected to pressure. And today we know, after the COVID pandemic, post-COVID, the positive side of it, that means the power of technology has been realized by the institutions, by the governments, by the organizations, and they still continue to use in some areas where there is a need for cost control, to continue using the online platforms, online mode, and switch to virtual mode. For example, if you look at this very session that we are conducting this session, probably I would say 5-10 years back, this session people would have been invited to UGC, MMTC or UGC, HRDC or whatever center we call it. And people will be booking train ticket, they will be flight ticket, traveling, staying in hotel and staying away from the family and doing this training in a physical classroom. But today we are doing it from the comfort of your respective homes, respective cities, without involving any travel expenditure, without involving any hotel expenditure or hostel expenditure, without involving leaving the comfort of your home or your departments or offices, whatever. And still we are doing this. So this has this external change has forced us to realize the benefits. And today we are seeing every other day UGC and the ministries ask for meeting with the vice chancellors, with the directors of the IITs, IIMs and the institution heads on almost every week or every other day in a virtual mode. Historically, they will call for a meeting, people will prepare for the meeting and have some time and they will travel. And so the agility has gone up several fold, which means we have to be very, very agile in terms of meeting the demands of the stakeholders. So that is where the role of technology comes. So let's move to the next slide, where according to the Levitt's diamond model, before institutions bring any change in any one of the 4 components that we have talked about, which is task, structure, people, and the technology, impact on the other 3 components needs to be evaluated properly. This is possible if we are doing in a planned manner, but there may be sometimes unplanned, like the COVID pandemic. So organizations did not have the opportunity to see the impact. Suddenly there was a crisis. So whether we liked or whether we did not like, we were compelled to switch to a mode which was technology intensive, which was technology dependent. And consequently, when we talk about the planned changes, those organizations that are able to find and maintain the right balance between all of them, which means between people, between technology, between structure, and between the tasks, they are able to implement changes successfully as compared to those who are doing it in silos or not able to prepare it properly. So this basically, Levitt's diamond model can help us to build an integrated strategy for an easy framework for understanding the dependencies between the 4 key variables, which is task, people, structure, and the technology. So using this framework, we as institutions, each one of the institutions, each one of the participants is representing some institution as a participant of X institution or Y institution. So in your institution, if we apply these frameworks, we can analyze the impact of the proposed changes and use the results within our own implementation strategy. So implementation strategy in every institution will depend on these parameters. This is what Dr. Levitt had proposed in the model. Then later on, this got further refined, and it is what is called the golden triangle. So the Levitt's diamond model got transformed further, enhanced into what is today referred to as a golden triangle, wherein the task and structure becomes the part of the process. So in short, we can say, if we are looking for excellence, if we are looking for betterment, if we are looking for enhancements, we will have to focus on this triangle, which means people, process, and technology. And that is precisely what we were saying, a background of PPT, people, process, technology. So people, if we only focus on technology, so if I try to give it a real life example, let's say we have a three-wheeler. If we have a three-wheeler, it has got three wheels. All the three wheels must be having proper air, then only the vehicle will move. If we fill the air in one of the wheels and the other two wheels we don't care, then the movement of the vehicle will not happen, no matter how much air we blow it in one of the tires of the three-wheelers. So this golden triangle, which is actually the transformation from the Dr. Levitt's diamond model, which talks about if we need excellence, we will have to focus on all the three. We'll have to blend all the three in the right proportion so as to achieve excellence if we want to get some benefit out of technology also. So
Yes.
coming back to any questions in what we have discussed so far? So
Yes,
that was
slides
the
are
back.
not moving.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Slides are not moving.
What is the visible slide right now on this?
Levitt's
Levitt
diamond
diamond model.
third
The
slide.
same.
Okay, let me stop sharing and start again. Maybe there's some issue. Just give me 1 minute. Give me just 1 minute. Let me share it again. What is visible right now on the screen?
Teaching and learning
Teaching, learning, and research.
and research.
Okay, so
Eighth slide.
let me quickly rush through these slides that we have already gone through if it was missed out. So let me quickly rush through these slides. What is visible right now?
There are too many slides, sir.
All slides are sir.
Pardon?
All slides are here, sir.
Okay. Just give me 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Are the slides visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is where we started. Let me rush through the slides that we have already gone through, as some of you would not have seen. So here is what is the slide visible now? A brief history of
Yes, sir.
Brief history of PPT.
Cool. So this PPT is actually the people process technology concept, which is called the golden triangle. So this was basically from Dr. Levitt's diamond model, which we have already talked about. We have 4 components which are tightly interdependent, and here is the just 1 minute. The diagram which is showing the interdependency, and if we change on any one of them, the others will get impacted, is the basic concept. That means we cannot have just technology without impacting the other, or we can't change the task without impacting the other. So there are 4 key components which are tightly integrated. So a planned approach would be to consider the impact of change on any one of them on the other 3. That is what Dr. Levitt had proposed. And for those who do these considerations, they are able to do much better. So if we probably do some analysis into our own respective institutions, we can find probably the causes of not following the diamond model or not following the golden triangle. Probably will have its own impact or its own challenges, some of which are mentioned in the chat box by some of the participants. But doesn't matter. We still can find some pragmatic solutions to the problems despite all constraints. That's what the promise of technology is. So here is what the golden triangle is finally evolved from the Levitt's diamond model, and that talks about people, process, and so the tasks and the structure becomes a part of the process. So we have got three aspects: people, process, and technology, and they are like the three wheels of a three-wheeler. If we want the vehicle to move, all three wheels must be taken care properly. If we do only one of the wheels and forget about two, because it is very easy for institutions to arrange some technology and say, we have given you the best technology, now please give us. So, but people and process, they are not taken care, then the results don't come by. That's the golden triangle evolved from the Dr. Levitt's diamond model. And so if we want excellence in education also, excellence in research also, we'll have to have all the three aspects, which means people, process, and technology. So coming back to the core of that discussion, which is teaching, learning, and research, we'll have to focus on people, process, and technology. Now, teaching, learning, and research is not a new thing. It's a very, very old area. We had been doing teaching and learning and research, and many of us would remember when we were students, we had technology, whatever technology was available at that time, we were using those technology. It's only technology has got some changes, and accordingly, there's something called a cone of experience that tells that in our students, we observe that only what they read, they are able to remember only some portion of it. But if they hear also, their retention becomes higher, learning becomes higher. And if they are able to see also, then it is further higher. So if we can hear and see both, then the quantum of retention becomes much higher. So the key takeaway is higher levels of retention can be achieved through active involvement in learning. So in today's scenario, in 21st century, the technology has undergone so much of paradigm change that the kind of aids available for us and our students today, they were unthinkable something like 20-30 years back. When we were students, we didn't have that kind of technology. For example, if I give the example, suppose a geography teacher wants to teach the concept of galaxy to his or her students. So the teacher, what he will do or what she will do, she will walk into the classroom, she will draw a diagram of the galaxy on the whiteboard or the blackboard or the green board, whatever board is there in the classroom. It will take 10-20 minutes to draw that diagram. That galaxy is actually a three-dimensional concept, but on the board she can draw or he can draw only two-dimensional diagram. The student will see that and he will understand to some extent. This is the case, what applicable for all of us when we were school students, when we were getting concept of geography, etc. But today, it is very easy for the teacher of geography to send a small YouTube video, multimedia video, explaining the concept of galaxy in 5 minutes, even before the class starts. Send it to the student either on an email group or on the LMS platform, or share it with the students and say, please watch this video and come back. We will discuss. And in that video, there is a three-dimensional objects rotating and moving in the orbits. There are, audio as well as multimedia, and this makes the concept crystal clear among the students. So that advantage is available in 21st century for strengthening the teaching and learning. So teaching aids were there. It's only the type of aids that are changing today, that are available today. So teaching aids we were also having teaching aids when we were students. Our teachers were using the best aid available at that time. and probably the OSP projector with transparency was the best possible teaching aid available when we were students. And but today's students have distinct advantage. They have tremendous support of technology to enhance their level of learning, provided there is a motivation, provided they are commitment, provided there is a facilitation and they are willing to. So resources are available so that learning can be enhanced, the research can be enhanced. So when we use teaching aid, it engages the students' other senses in the learning process to facilitate various styles of teaching and learning. So here are some of the paradigm change that have recently happened. For example, the role of technology and the role of learner. So traditionally, when we were students, teacher focus was on the teacher, which means Guruji has to teach everything, and chalk and talk was the technology. So if a student gets late, he misses the class, he has no other option but to wait for the next year to attend that class, because the Guruji is the controller of learning, and if he misses the class, gone. But that is no longer true in the current scenario. The model has changed from traditional to information, where learners focus changes from teachers to learners, and the role of learner changes from passive to active, and chalk and talk technology changes to personal computer, which means if there is a PC or even if there is a smartphone, the student can play that video and learn the recorded session of the teacher and still understand what happened in my class. And that's the beauty that technology enables change in the environment. And even beyond that, there is something called knowledge group. So model change from traditional to information, and then from information to knowledge. Now in the knowledge model, the focus is not on the learners alone, but on a group of learners, which means we can segregate the class into different groups. Typically, as teacher, if we are asked to divide our classes into 3 groups, probably a very high level partitioning would be the ones who are above average, something like 15-20% of the students. Then the other group is the average students, who may be 30%, 40%, 50%. And then below average students, which could be 10, 20, 30%, depends on the intake. So if we divide the students into 3 groups called, above average, average, and below average, then we can focus on their individual group to provide them adaptive methods of learning, which means the kind of remedial classes, the kind of tutoring, the kind of mentoring the below average student needs may not be needed by the above average students. So in a scenario where technology enabled learning is there, we are fortunate enough to have tools and techniques and methodologies through teaching aid, through technology of 21st century. We can focus on adaptive learning of the groups of the students. That is the beauty. If we don't do this, if suppose teacher announces the remedial classes for all those who need help and support, for all we know, in our experience, the sincere lot will be sitting in the class, and the one we are targeting will be missing from the class, isn't it? So we did effort without doing the adaptive and grouping, and we announced that all students, those who are weak, are invited to attend a remedial class or the mentoring or tutoring class for doubt clearing session, this, that. Please join us in this classroom at this time on this date. And still we find that while we had sincere intent to help them, but those whom we were trying to help are missing from the class. This is one of the common problems. So in order to solve some of these problems, there are ways and means and methods that we will showcase in this very class, that how we can use that through LMS. There are LMS solutions that helps us with the dynamic learning of the groups. So the changes in the role of teacher is happening from transmitter of knowledge to guide and facilitator of knowledge, from controller of learning to creator of learning, from being always expert to collab, because teacher need not be expert always, because knowledge is evolving. So every teacher is also a student. Every teacher is also a learner. So teacher is also learning. He or she is also learning. So he's collaborating and co-learning as the methodology is evolving, as the knowledge is evolving, right? So the role is changing from learning to use ICT to using ICT to enhance learning. So this is the change in the role of teachers. Then we have changes in the curriculum and delivery. So earlier it was memorizing facts. Now it is inquiry based, right? So memorizing facts is no longer valid in today's context, because historically, when we only had the traditional model of chalk and talk, probably at that time the Guruji or the teacher would have thought ki jo maine padhaya hai, whatever I have taught in the class should be reproduced by the student. So the focus was on the memorizing the facts. But in today's scenario, whatever information we ask through Google and through Alexa, it is very easy to find. So any information you ask, the student can use a smartphone and find through AI. He can find some answer and quickly. So the student is actually not learning. Instead, his learning is getting weaker. And so the curriculum needs to be changed. Instead of focusing on the memory based, it should be inquiry based. Let me give an example of history, for example. Instead of a very simple example that is very easy for us to understand, but only take it as an example, then you can think of other examples in your own subjects. For example, instead of asking question like, when was Gandhiji born or where was Gandhiji born? If we ask this question in the exam, student can find out from the Google and everybody will answer. Instead of that, probably the question could be, what would be Gandhiji doing today if he was alive? If this question is asked to the Google wouldn't be able to find, because it's actually inquiry based. So here there is a method of application of concepts. Here is what every student will respond differently by doing some analysis. So the changes in the curricula has to happen, that it, instead of artificial teaching exercise, it should be authentic learning exercise. Instead of rigid delivery, it should be open and flexible delivery anytime, anywhere. And there should be multi-path progression, right? So changes are happening. Instead of single sense to multi-sense, single media to multimedia, the example that I gave for geography, right? So they're in keeping that in mind, the government of India and the ministry, erstwhile called Ministry of HRD, now called Ministry of Education, had funded a number of projects and came up with lots and lots of national digital resources. The URL of some of those national digital resources are right now visible on our screen. Is it visible? Can somebody acknowledge?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So these resources are tremendously helpful for various institutions, teachers, learners, support staff. All these resources have been made available by the government through various funded projects, and we will try to look at some of the examples right now in this class. If the time permits, we will have a look at some of these resources by opening them in the browser and see the potential it offers. So it is basically, there is also a National Digital Library, which means in a physical world, if a student is registered or enrolled in a particular institution, he or she would have access to the library content of his own institution or her own institution. Through these projects, he or she can access libraries of other institutions also by a process through National Digital Library. So there are lots and lots of projects being supported and funded by the government to enhance the capacity of the institution to overcome some of the limitations that the participants were mentioning in the chat box. We have limited resources in our institution, fine. We have limited resources in our institution, but there are some other institutions who may be more resourceful than us. So we can use their resources to some extent to overcome the impediments, to the limitations that we may have in our own institution by blending these resources into our curriculum, blending them in the appropriate manner. This blending should not happen blindly. It should happen through a process, because as we remember the golden triangle, people, process, and technology, all the three should be taken together. Merely having technology, no people, process, tailoring or moderating will not bring the results. So all of that will definitely help us overcome some of the limitations as far as the constraints or limitations are concerned, for us to do better than what we had been doing in the resource constrained environment, right? So then there is one more aspects we will be talking about. This is the artificial intelligence. There are lots and lots of buzz about the AI, which is happening in the current times. So what we are doing in AI, actually we are doing simulation of human intelligence into machines that are programmed to think and learn. This is what, so you might have heard of driverless car and so many things. So anything that, but all said and done, there is a lots and lots of caution and care to be taken to how we should not blindly trust what we are getting from AI and start believing that as a truth and start taking actions instead of applying critical thinking, instead of applying our basics. So that might result into problems. So that is with the word of caution, but it definitely has potential to facilitate the administrative tasks such as grading exam and providing feedback expeditiously, help build personalized learning plans on the basis of learning styles and preferences of the students, assist the instructors with decision support systems and data-driven works, which means if we blend it with the AI tools, so we can do that adaptive learning where we were trying to look at the students who are not regular in the class or who are weak. We can assist them through those decision support systems and data-driven works. So working with the students directly and timely and giving feedback them, those are the areas where we can administer the course delivery through use of AI. Now, as far as instruction is concerned, it also helps in creating the personalized learning plan for each student, analyze the syllabus and course material to propose customized content based on the feedback of the assessments of the students. That is where AI can help. It can also allow instruction beyond classroom, supporting collaboration. So anticipate the performance outcomes and potential dropouts. So based on the past data learned, it can predict the outcome by saying that if we don't improve this student, maybe he will drop out. So we can focus, which means we can apply remedial actions much earlier than doing it at the end of the semester where the time is lost and we can't do any rectification and correcting. Now, as far as the learning is concerned, that we can predict the career path for each student on the basis of what he is studying and customize the university course selections, for example, department electives, open electives, etc. All of that can be done through AI. If we blend AI into the process of the course offering and selection, it can detect the learning state and apply intelligent adaptive intervention to the students. And it can uncover the learning shortcomings of the students and address them early in the learning life cycle. So that's the advantages of us. So there could be effective use of AI tools by the researchers. So here is one, because this session we have an aspect of research and how we can use tools for research. We will be looking at some examples shortly. So as far as AI effective use is concerned, unfortunately, we have found some of the researchers, they go to ChatGPT or some other AI tool, try to write, pose a question and take the output and straight away say, this is my work. This is not fair. This is not tenable. So use of AI tools for managing and citing reference is okay. Fact check. So whatever contents are generated by AI, the fact check needs to be done by the researchers. That's what care must be taken. So fact check the contents generated by AI powered tools and use AI tools to edit or structure the original content according to the submission requirement, not blindly trusting. So what we must not do is use AI to replace critical thinking needed to carry out the research. That should never happen. Critical thinking required in the research must be, retained and must be applied. We should not accept without fact checking the content generated by the AI tools as the truth. If we are doing it, probably we are doing blunders. So rely on AI tools to, it's not reply, it is rely. Sorry for the typo. Rely on the AI tools to write articles. This is, just let me correct. Just give me 1 minute, please. So we should not rely on okay. So while we can use those tools, but we have to apply our own, ethics for the research process to make sure that we are using the AI tools in the right. So what are the good practices while using AI for research? Now, identify and choose appropriate AI tool that best suits the problem. Ensure that the algorithms are trained, tested, and properly validated. And remove the conscious and unconscious human bias from the machine learning algorithms before using them in the research. So this is a good practice. Now, the pitfalls of using AI in the research are: AI has its flaws and cannot replace human researchers. An example for this is generative AI inventing academic references instead of using the real publications. So AI-powered tools should be used to support academic researchers and not to replace critical thinking abilities, right? So AI-assisted tools are most effective when they are used by researchers to optimize their time and resources as they do research, not to write their papers, theses, or grant applications for them. Simply copying, pasting AI-generated text can result into what is called a menace of plagiarism. Now, before we move forward, we will get back to this menace of plagiarism for towards the end of the session once again. So we're just parking this concept. So the pitfalls of using AI in academic research is: advancing science requires original, creative, and critical thinking by the people in the field. AI is based on the input in and existing research knowledge. So AI tools can cause researchers to lose their creativity and originality if we are overusing it without applying the basics. So that's the word of caution. So with this, if there are any questions in what we have discussed so far, the slide part is over. Any questions if we have, please, it's time for participants to ask questions if any.
जी नमस्ते सर, मैं आराधना हिंदी विभाग सहारनपुर में ज्वाइन की हूँ सर।
या
सर, ये रिसर्चर के लिए एआई का यूज थोड़ा सा हिंदी में सर बता दीजिए प्लीज।
अच्छा, ओके मैम, एआई जो है वो हमें कुछ चीजों में यूज करना है, लेकिन एआई पे ओवर रिलायंस फैक्ट चेक किए बिना करना या एआई से जो जनरेटेड कंटेंट है उसको क्लेम करना कि ये मेरा पब्लिश्ड वर्क है, ये सही नहीं है। तो कुछ चीजों हम एआई टूल्स यूज करेंगे। बहुत सारे रिसर्च पब्लिकेशंस अवेलेबल हैं जो ये बता रहे हैं कि एआई का पिटफॉल्स क्या है, एआई को हम कहाँ यूज करें, कहाँ ना यूज करें। बहुत सारे यूनिवर्सिटीज के आर्टिकल्स हैं, सम ऑफ देम विल पुट इन द चैट बॉक्स, तो आप इसको गो थ्रू करें। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, फंडामेंटल नोशन ये है कि जैसे किसी को मैथमेटिक्स सीखनी है और वो कैलकुलेटर से अगर सीखना शुरू करेगा तो जिस दिन उससे कैलकुलेटर ले लिया जाएगा उस दिन वो फेल हो जाएगा। एक मैथमेटिक्स का स्टूडेंट है जिसने मैथमेटिक्स को बहुत अच्छी तरह सीख लिया, उसके बाद उसके हाथ में कैलकुलेटर आया तो कैलकुलेटर से उसका काम आसान हो जाएगा। सो दीज टूल्स शुड नॉट मेक अस फूल्स। अगर मैं इसको एज ए सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर के साथ कहूं कि टूल्स शुड नॉट मेक अस फूल्स, दीज टूल्स शुड मेक अस डू आवर थिंग्स बेटर। तो एक तो ये इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है। दूसरी बात ये है कि टूल जो है वो हमें डिक्टेट नहीं करेगा कि आप ऐसे करिए। हमारे पास कैलकुलेटर है, आप कैलकुलेटर का ये एग्जांपल ले ले, कैलकुलेटर हमें ये नहीं बताएगा कि आप ये कैलकुलेट करो, कैलकुलेटर को हम बताएंगे कि मुझे ये कैलकुलेट करना है, करो। सो ये कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि ए टूल शुड बी यूज्ड एज पर द रिक्वायरमेंट, द रिक्वायरमेंट शुड नॉट बी डिक्टेटेड बाय द टूल। ये कॉन्सेप्चुअल ब्लंडर ये ना हो कि साहब अब एआई बताएगा कि कैसे रिसर्च करें। नो, रिसर्च कैसे करना है ये रिसर्चर और रिसर्च सुपरवाइजर बताएगा। इसको आसान करने के लिए कहां, कब, कितना एआई टूल यूज करें या और कोई टूल यूज करें वो बताएगा। अच्छा, क्योंकि हम रिसर्च की बात कर रहे हैं और अभी हमने थोड़ी देर पहले रिसर्च का एक मीनांस का तस्करा किया जिसको प्लेजरिज्म है। मैं आपसे इस डिस्क्लेमर के साथ कि ये मेरा पर्सनल ओपिनियन है, इसका यूजीसी, एमएमटीसी से या एमयू से कोई लेना देना नहीं है। So don't quote कि डायरेक्टर कंप्यूटर सेंटर ने ऐसा बोला। आई एम आस्किंग अ क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम द पार्टिसिपेंट्स विद अ डिस्क्लेमर। आप मुझे ये बताइए, इट्स अ क्वेश्चन फॉर द पार्टिसिपेंट्स टू फॉर थॉट प्रोवोकिंग। ये बताइए प्लेजरिज्म होता क्या है?
फिर हम किसी और के विचारों को जो अब अपना विचार बताते हैं।
हाँ, बहुत अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा। किसी और के काम को अपना काम बता के क्लेम करने को प्लेजरिज्म, अगर हम सीधी जबान में, सादी जबान में कहें। अच्छा ये बताइए कि हमारा सिस्टम, हमारा जो स्कूल से सिस्टम स्टार्ट होता है, ये इसको प्रमोट कर रहा है या इसको रिजेक्ट कर रहा है? हमने यहां देखा स्कूलों में कि बच्चा रो रहा है, माँ उसका प्रोजेक्ट बना रही है, बड़ा भाई बड़ी बहन उसका प्रोजेक्ट बना रहे हैं, बच्चा कह रहा है मैं स्कूल जाऊंगा नहीं, ये प्रोजेक्ट बनाना है, और बहुत अच्छा सा प्रोजेक्ट मदर सिस्टर ब्रदर बना के देते हैं और उस पर उसका नाम लिखते हैं। फिर बच्चा खुशी खुशी जाता है स्कूल और नंबर लेके आता है। जो बच्चा खुद काम करता है उसको आधा नंबर मिलता है स्कूल में, डांट पड़ती है, और कई बार बच्चा कहता है मैं आज जाऊंगा नहीं, मेरा प्रोजेक्ट ही नहीं बना है। तो ये क्या चीज है? बच्चे के दिमाग में केजी से ये शुरू हो रहा है कि काम अच्छा होना चाहिए, किसी से भी करा लो और लिख देंगे अपना नाम। ये बात उसको बिना कहे ट्रेनिंग मिल रही है। तो प्लेजियरिज्म जो है गलत चीज है, बिल्कुल सही है, लेकिन हमारा सिस्टम भी इसको सपोर्ट करे। ये मैं सवाल आपसे इसलिए पूछ रहा हूं क्योंकि शायद कभी आप फ्यूचर में किसी पॉलिसी मेकिंग बॉडी में, किसी कमेटी में कहीं मेंबर्स रिप्रेजेंट हो, तो उस टाइम में शायद यू कैन डू बाय कंट्रीब्यूटिंग उस कमेटी में, उस पॉलिसी मेकिंग बॉडी में ओरिजिनलिटी को प्रमोट करने वाली पॉलिसीज को आप प्रमोट करें। क्योंकि शायद ये प्रॉब्लम इतनी वॉल्यूमिनस है कि शायद आपके लेवल पे या किसी इंडिविजुअल के लेवल पे पॉसिबल नहीं है। क्योंकि स्कूल में प्रोजेक्ट अच्छा दिखना चाहिए, बच्चा ओरिजिनली किया है कि नहीं किया है ये फोकस नहीं है। जबकि अगर हम ओरिजिनलिटी को प्रमोट करेंगे तो छोटा बच्चा बहुत कॉस्मेटिक प्रेजेंटेशन नहीं दे पाएगा, उसका आधा अधूरा हो, नॉवेल हो। अच्छा ये प्रॉब्लम सिर्फ यही नहीं है, आपने शायद एडिसन का नाम, थॉमस एल्वा एडिसन का नाम सुना होगा। ये प्रॉब्लम सिर्फ हमारी नहीं है, प्रॉब्लम ग्लोबल है। थॉमस एल्वा एडिसन को स्कूल से निकाल दिया गया था क्योंकि बहुत इनोवेटिव था वो। तो आप सब जानते हैं। सो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज कि वी शुड ट्राई टू डू थिंग्स दैट प्रमोट द ओरिजिनल वर्क। द प्रॉब्लम इज वॉल्यूमिनस। और आपको कभी किसी स्टेज में कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी मिले किसी पॉलिसी मेकिंग बॉडी में इसको ओरिजिनलिटी को, नोवेल्टी को प्रमोट करने का, तो आप उसमें सपोर्ट कीजिए, ये मेरी रिक्वेस्ट है। Coming back to this is just this is nothing the official discussion, so I'm just giving a food for thought or forcing you to think। आपको सोचने के लिए एक सवाल मैंने पूछा जो मैं अक्सर अपने सारे पार्टिसिपेंट से पूछता रहता हूँ। तो ये मैंने आपसे भी पूछा और आप जरा इस पर गौर कीजिएगा कि क्या हमें ओरिजिनलिटी को प्रमोट, क्या हमें वाकई सिस्टम के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ओरिजिनलिटी को प्रमोट करने के लिए क्या करना चाहिए ताकि स्कूलों में जो बच्चा ओरिजिनल काम करे उसको अच्छे मार्क्स मिले। कॉस्मेटिक्स या बहुत प्रेजेंटेबल जो किसी और से करा के लाके अपना नाम लिख के लगा रहा है, उसको हम कैसे इस मिनांस को कंट्रोल करें, कैसे सिस्टम को इंप्रूव करें, इस पर जो भी आप एज ए इंडिविजुअल कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं हम लोग को करना चाहिए। कमिंग बैक टू द पॉइंट ऑफ रिसर्च। सो बताइए जरा सा कि अभी तक हमने जो डिस्कस किया, और किसी का कोई सवाल हो प्लीज गो अहेड, एनी क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम एनी पार्टिसिपेंट्स। Research supervisor, let me ask a question। जब कोई बच्चा पीएचडी में एडमिशन लेके डिपार्टमेंट में आता है, आके उसने डिपार्टमेंट ज्वाइन किया, तो what is, I mean, as far as the research process is concerned, what he or she should be doing in the फर्स्ट डे, फर्स्ट वीक, फर्स्ट मंथ, फर्स्ट ईयर, और ये जो प्रॉब्लम्स उसकी आती हैं उसमें हमें टेक्नोलॉजी कैसे हेल्प कर सकता है, ये ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ डिस्कशन है। बताइए।
Review of literature first year.
What should be area of the research?
वेरी नाइस। उसका एरिया ऑफ रिसर्च क्या है? तो मान लीजिए अगर उस बच्चे ने कंप्यूटर साइंस में एडमिशन लिया या पॉलिटिकल साइंस में एडमिशन लिया या हिस्ट्री में एडमिशन लिया, तो एक ब्रॉड एरिया तो उसने चूज किया कि मुझे इस डिपार्टमेंट से पीएचडी करनी है। उसके बाद नेक्स्ट उधर एडमिशन लिया तो एक बहुत हाई लेवल ब्रॉड एरिया उसके पास है कि साहब मुझे हिस्ट्री में करना है, मुझे ज्योग्राफी में करना है, मुझे पॉलिटिकल साइंस में करना है, मुझे कंप्यूटर साइंस में करना है। उसके बाद नेक्स्ट क्या होना चाहिए?
Survey to
Review regarding literature regarding this topic.
ओके, सो अब ये सवाल यहाँ पर ये है कि उसका फर्स्ट एक तो जैसे उसको कुछ कोर्स करना होगा, कुछ कोर्स की रिक्वायरमेंट होगी रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी का और एक कोई सब्जेक्ट का कोर्स होगा वो करेगा, वो दैट्स फाइन। उसके अलावा जब उसको सुपरवाइजर एलोकेट होगा तो उसके बाद उसको कुछ काम शुरू करना होगा। अगर मैं आपसे एज ए पार्ट ऑफ इंटरेक्टिव डिस्कशन में कहूं कि हम कई बार सुपरवाइजर से अलग से बात करते हैं, कई बार रिसर्च स्कॉलर से अलग से बात करते हैं, दोनों की स्टोरी में बड़ा फर्क होता है। सुपरवाइजर मैं ऑफ द रिकॉर्ड जो स्टोरी बताते हैं वो कि साहब हमारे सुपरवाइजर तो पास तो टाइम ही नहीं है, ही इज नॉट गिविंग मी टाइम, है ना, वो हमारी हेल्प नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, मुझे नहीं। अच्छा, सुपरवाइजर से बात करें तो वो बताते हैं कि साहब वो 6 महीने में एक बार जो प्रोग्रेस रिपोर्ट साइन करानी होती ना, उस टाइम वो सीरियस होता है, उससे पहले वो दिखाई नहीं देता है, ही इज नॉट सीरियस। ये 2 वर्जन्स आते हैं, राइट। तो इसका टेक्नोलॉजी के थ्रू हम कोई इसका सोल्यूशन, बिकॉज ये 2 पर्सपेक्टिव हैं, कैन वी डू समथिंग टू ब्रिज द गैप ऑफ द पर्सपेक्टिव्स? यस, इट इज पॉसिबल टू डू इट एंड टेक्नोलॉजी कैन हेल्प अस। ये एक पार्ट है। दूसरा ये है कि उसके रिसर्च में कई बार बच्चा फर्स्ट पेपर से, जैसे अभी किसी पार्टिसिपेंट ने कहा कि सर उसको लिटरेचर रिव्यू करना होगा। अच्छा, एक ये इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है कि इसका टॉपिक क्या हो। तो अगर कॉरिडोर में किसी ने टॉपिक सजेस्ट किया और वो लेके अपने सुपरवाइजर पे पहुंच गया कि सर ये वाला टॉपिक बड़ा अच्छा है, मुझे इसी पे करना है, तो ये शायद ज्यादा दिन सरवाइव कर नहीं पाएगा, क्योंकि टॉपिक मस्ट बी इवॉल्व्ड, नॉट सजेस्टेड बाय अ थर्ड पार्टी, इजंट इट? तो उस टॉपिक के इवोल्यूशन में, प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट के फाइनलाइजेशन में, रिसर्च क्वेश्चंस के इवोल्यूशन में टेक्नोलॉजी का रोल है। हम बहुत सारा चीजें कर सकते हैं टेक्नोलॉजी के थ्रू टू फाइंड आउट व्हाट आर द ओपन रिसर्च इश्यूज इन ए पर्टिकुलर फील्ड दैट द स्टूडेंट हैज ऑप्टेड फॉर, what are the facilities, infrastructures available locally in the institution, what are the infrastructure, facilities and relevant researchers in the same city, in the same district, in the same state, in the same country and across the globe with whom we can collaborate, right? Collaboration is very very easy और technology काफी support करता है collaboration को। So collaborative research कर सकते हैं इस field में, हमारे इस शहर में, इस डिस्ट्रिक्ट में, इस स्टेट में, इस कंट्री में और 7 कॉन्टिनेंट्स में कौन कौन से रिसर्चर जो इस फील्ड में काम कर रहे हैं, हम उनके साथ कैसे कोलैबोरेट करें। जबकि मिनिस्ट्री कह रही है कि आप एमओयू कीजिए, इंस्टीट्यूशंस मस्ट साइन एमओयू, राइट। तो हम एमओयू करते हैं कि एक इंस्टीट्यूशन इंडिया में है और एक इंस्टीट्यूशन किसी और कॉन्टिनेंट में है। अगर से हम लोग रिसर्च कर रहे हैं और हमारे रिसर्च जो है वो हो सकता है हमारे स्टेट में ही दूसरा इंस्टीट्यूशन भी हो, वो भी इसमें कर रहा हो, या हमारी कंट्री में हो, हमारा इंटरनल एमओयू भी होने लगे तो हम कोलैबोरेट करके और अच्छी रिसर्च कर सकते हैं। तो बाहर, तो आई एम जस्ट गिविंग सम फूड फॉर थॉट्स, हाउ कैन वी यूज टेक्नोलॉजी। अच्छा, उसके अलावा जब हमें उनसे कोलैबोरेट करना है तो रिसर्च कोलैबोरेशन के लिए, रेफरेंस मैनेजमेंट के लिए और बहुत सारी चीजों के लिए देयर आर टूल्स। वो हमें टेक्नोलॉजी इनेबल्ड टूल्स बहुत सारी मदद कर सकते हैं। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मेंडले एक टूल है, शायद आपने नाम सुना हो और आपके शायद स्टूडेंट्स यूज भी कर रहे होंगे। क्या चीज है मेंडले?
सर ये रेफरेंसिंग टूल है,
डेस्कटॉप मैनेजर,
इट्स अ रेफरेंस मैनेजर। तो ये
Yes, sir.
रिसर्चर हमारा किसी भी फील्ड का हो, चाहे वो पॉलिटिकल साइंस का हो, हिस्ट्री का हो, सोशल साइंस का हो, कंप्यूटर साइंस का हो, किसी भी साइंस का रिसर्चर अगर वो रिसर्च कर रहा है तो उसकी रिसर्च में, उसकी रिसर्च के दरमियान अगर जैसे जैसे पेपर उसका आगे बढ़ रहा है, the way he is doing more and more research, he has read 1 paper, 2 paper, 10 paper, 20 paper, 30। तो जैसे नंबर ऑफ पेपर्स ग्रो हो रहे हैं, उस नंबर ऑफ पेपर्स को ग्रोथ के दरमियान, the moment paper grow, handling those paper is a big challenge, right? और उसके बाद वो कॉन्फ्रेंस में जा रहा है, वो पेपर्स को पढ़ रहा है, उसको एनोटेट कर रहा है। All of that can be automated through a reference manager tool. There are so many reference manager tools. Mendeley is one of them. तो चाहे वो सोशल साइंस का रिसर्चर हो, कंप्यूटर साइंस का रिसर्चर हो, पॉलिटिकल साइंस का हो, हिस्ट्री, किसी का भी, ये कॉमन है जो सब यूज कर सकते हैं रेफरेंस मैनेजर टूल, जिसके थ्रू रिसर्च राइटिंग एंड दी बिब्लियोग्राफी, साइटेशन, फॉर्मेट्स, लॉट्स एंड लॉट्स ऑफ थिंग्स। तो बहुत सारे काम उसके बहुत सारे आसान हो जाएंगे। सो दीज टूल्स कैन फॉर्म दी, यू नो, इन दीज टूल्स कैन बी इंक्लूडेड इन द रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी कोर्स, जिसमें ये बच्चे उन टूल्स के थ्रू बहुत सारा काम आसान हो जाएगा। उसके अलावा privately collaboration between different researchers, whether between research supervisor and research student, or research supervisor or co-supervisor in some other country, in some other, बहुत चीजें आसान हो जाएंगी. So there are lots and lots of advantages available. There could be simulation tools, बहुत सारे tools हैं, और वो tools में से बहुत सारे, अब जहां tool की बात आती है वहां पे एक बात आमतौर पे निकल के आती है कि साहब tools बहुत सारे प्रोप्राइटरी हैं, उसमें हमारे इंस्टीट्यूशन के पास पैसा नहीं है, तो हम कैसे खरीदेंगे, ये हमारे लिए दिक्कत है. ये एक कॉमन प्रॉब्लम आती है जो और भी डिस्कशंस में आई है. सो इन दैट काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो there is something called free and open source. Just give me 1 minute, please. Just give me 1 minute. Let me. Okay. So there is a category of softwares which is called free and open source. तो अगर हम फ्री एंड ओपन सोर्स सॉफ्टवेयर यूज करेंगे तो हमारी जो वो वाली परेशानी है कि पैसे हमारे इंस्टीट्यूशन के पास कम हैं, वो प्रॉब्लम दूर हो जाएगी. इस सिलसिले में एक अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी ने we had one actually swam course back few years back. We had a swam course on use of IT in education, और उसमें एक सेशन on fast I had delivered. तो मैंने अभी चैट बॉक्स में sorry, let me just give me 1 minute. Let me give me 1 minute. Let me copy the chat box में. I have just copied a YouTube link. अगर आप देखेंगे this one, I think 20-25 minutes worth session on use of free and open source software. So I will request all the participants to please have a look at this, क्योंकि ये स्वयं कोर्स हो चुका है और ये this is already done as a scheduled course. So now the content is available as a open educational resources. So during your free time, please go through it. We have talked about some of the free and open source tools and initiatives are there. So we can, for example, अगर हमारे पास मैटलैब नहीं है तो हम साइलैब यूज कर सकते हैं. अगर हमारे पास SPSS नहीं है तो हम PSPP यूज कर सकते हैं. So there are lots and lots of open source alternatives available if we don't have proprietary. Using pirated version of proprietary software is grossly prohibited. It's a violation and we should never do it. However, we can always use alternative free and open source. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, प्रॉब्लम कहां पर होती है कि अगर हमने प्रोप्राइटरी सॉफ्टवेयर यूज किया और हमारे पास लाइसेंस नहीं है या हमारे पास फंड नहीं है, तो इट विल क्रिएट अ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मैं एग्जाम्पल दूं सादी जबान में समझाने के लिए कि रेलवे स्टेशन पे पीने का पानी दो तरीके का होता है. एक होता है बिस्लरी वाटर और एक होता है पीने का पानी जो आरओ का अच्छा पानी है. प्रॉब्लम स्टार्ट्स की कि हम जाके बिस्लरी की बोतल ले ले और उसके बाद पानी पी के चलने लगे तो कहेगा सर पैसे दीजिए. हम कहेंगे पैसे हमारे पास है नहीं, तो कहेगा सर आपने लिया क्यों, पैसे नहीं है आपके पास, आप पीने का पानी वहां जाके पीते. सो दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम. इफ वी डोंट हैव funds, we should not be using proprietary software, otherwise we'll get into legal issues, piracy and all. That is not supported by the IT policy of any institution, I'm telling you. So I would say use free and open source softwares. There are lots and lots of free and open source softwares. As an example, let me share my browser and showcase some of them, and also showcase some of the URLs that we had talked about as National Digital Resources. तो मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा पार्टिसिपेंट से कि ये जो मैंने अभी URL YouTube का दिया है इसको अपने फ्री टाइम में एक बार देख लें. सो you'll get some idea of the what you call the
सर आप पीपीटी नहीं, एक्सक्यूज मी सर, पीपीटी कहीं शो नहीं हो रही सर.
मैंने पीपीटी अभी नहीं, अब मैं I'm now going to
okay
share my browser. Okay
सर.
क्या अभी विजिबल है? गूगल विजिबल है?
यस सर.
Yes, sir.
सो आपको शायद मालूम होगा स्वयं
Yes, sir.
क्या विजिबल है अभी राइट नाउ स्क्रीन पे?
गूगल अकाउंट
Student account, director
स्वयं प्रभा विजिबल नहीं है?
No, no, sir.
नहीं सर
No, sir.
now it is visible.
student account
अभी क्या विजिबल है?
same
It
sir.
is visible sir
Student
आ गया सर
Visible, sir.
स्वयं प्रभा, स्वयं प्रभा। तो अब ये एक ऐसा नेशनल डिजिटल रिसोर्स है जो हम सारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस बहुत आसानी के साथ यूज कर सकते हैं। अगर हमारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस में वी कैन टेक अ डायरेक्ट टू होम डिश टीवी और इसको हम अपने कॉमन रूम में, लाइब्रेरी में या मुनासिब जगह पे हॉस्टल्स में लगवा सकते हैं, जिस पर 24/7 एजुकेशनल प्रोग्राम्स चलते रहते हैं और इसका एक शेड्यूल पब्लिश रहता है, चाहे वो हायर लेवल हायर एजुकेशन के हों या स्कूल एजुकेशन के हों। और इसमें बहुत सारे चैनल्स हैं और उसके अलावा पुराने जो कोर्सेज हो चुके हैं उनका आर्काइव भी। फॉर एग्जांपल हायर एजुकेशन है, यहाँ देखें, यहाँ पे देखें इस स्वयं प्रभा में अगर हम लाइव जाएंगे तो ये सारे कोर्सेज, अच्छा उसके अलावा स्मार्टफोन पे भी बच्चे देख सकते हैं। इसमें बहुत सारे चैनल्स हैं, करीब 40 चैनल्स आपको यहाँ दिख रहे होंगे और अभी इस टाइम जब हम बात कर रहे हैं इनका शेड्यूल है। उसके अलावा जो कोर्सेज हो चुके हैं वो उसका रिकॉर्डेड वर्जन है, हम आर्काइव में जाके उसको प्ले करके जिस भी सब्जेक्ट से है, तो हम अपने रेस्पेक्टिव सब्जेक्ट के जो एजुकेशनल प्रोग्राम चल रहे हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल लैंग्वेज एंड लिटरेचर, सोशल एंड बिहेवियरल साइंसेज, एजुकेशन एंड होम साइंसेज एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ, प्रोफेशनल एजुकेशन। इसी तरीके से वी हैव लॉट्स एंड लॉट्स ऑफ ऑप्शंस। ये तो हो गए हमारे नेशनल डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज। अब हम चंद मिनट इंटरनेशनल डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज पे भी बात करना चाहेंगे कि अपार्ट फ्रॉम नेशनल डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज वी आल्सो हैव इंटरनेशनल डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज। तो जैसे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने बहुत सारे रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल कराए हैं, ऐसे बहुत सारे फॉरेन इंस्टीट्यूशंस ने भी, जैसे स्क्रीन पे दिख रहा है, हेलो,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
क्या दिख रहा है?
yes sir
Chalk radio.
हाँ?
Check.
चौक रेडियो
chalk reduce
आपको ओपन कोर्सवेयर नहीं दिख रहा? ओके फाइन। सो ये जो साइट है मैम, ये जो साइट है, डियर पार्टिसिपेंट, दिस साइट इज एक्चुअली ओपन कोर्सवेयर ऑफ MIT. So most of the institutions, good institutions, offer open courseware, which means they allow enrolling students. It is open for all. People can enroll in these courses, and there are lots and lots of. Which means अगर किसी को MIT US का वीजा पासपोर्ट की जरूरत नहीं है, MIT से कोर्स कोई ओपन कोर्सवेयर करना है, you can see here African studies, energy, entrepreneurship, environment, so many classifications. उसके अलावा इनकी MIT ओपन लर्निंग लाइब्रेरी, यहाँ पर बहुत सारे स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ मटेरियल्स, हेल्थ केयर, फाइनेंस, डिजाइन थिंकिंग एंड लीडिंग, तो इस तरह के बहुत सारे कोर्सेज हैं जो क्रेडिट नॉन क्रेडिट कोर्सेज हैं, इनको भी हम यूज कर सकते हैं। विच मीन्स अगर हमारे अंदर मोटिवेशन है, हमारे स्टूडेंट्स में मोटिवेशन है, तो हमारे पास थ्रू टेक्नोलॉजी, सिटिंग इन अ स्मॉल विलेज, we can do MIT open courseware, we can do Oxford courses, we can do Cambridge courses, we can do lots and lots of international courses as well as lots of national courses being offered by various institutions. We have our own Swayam platform, which is the Indian MOOCs platform, right? So बहुत सारे resources available हैं जो हमारे लिए, हमारे students के लिए, हमारे staff के लिए, हमारे faculty members के लिए available हैं. We can all use that. So by way of using technology, we can solve a lots and lots of problems of shortage of resources, shortage of infrastructure, shortage of good teachers. अगर आपको पता हो 2011 के एंड में, 2012 में US की एक यूनिवर्सिटी के कंप्यूटर साइंस के प्रोफेसर ने एक एक्सपेरिमेंट किया। शॉर्टेज ऑफ गुड टीचर्स इज ए ग्लोबल प्रॉब्लम। हर जगह पर अच्छे टीचर कम है। अगर हमें आपको याद करना हो तो अपने स्कूल डेज से भी हमें याद होगा कि हमारे एक फलान टीचर थे, वो बहुत अच्छे टीचर थे, वी रिमेम्बर हिम, ही वाज आवर बेस्ट टीचर, बट there were many other teachers also, right? So not every teacher is actually considered a very good teacher in the eyes of the students. So in the nutshell, teacher जो है वो shortage of good teacher problem काफी बड़ी है, और जैसे हम हायर एजुकेशन की तरफ मूव करेंगे ये प्रॉब्लम और मैग्नीफाई होती जाती है, विच मीन्स हायर एजुकेशन में चूंकि स्पेशलाइजेशन होता है, सो अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ स्पेशलिस्ट टीचर इज स्टिल शॉर्टर। तो इस प्रॉब्लम को ओवरकम करने के लिए कंप्यूटर साइंस डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ अ यूनिवर्सिटी इन यूएस डिड एन एक्सपेरिमेंट इन 2011 बाय डूइंग व्हाट इज कॉल्ड मूक्स टुडे। उन्होंने एक एक्सपेरिमेंट किया, एक कोर्स रन किया यूएस में बैठे हुए। उस कोर्स में thousands of people participated from various continents, from various countries, from various cities, and it was very very successful. That gave birth to the idea of MOOCs. और फिर वो MOOCs के, अब जैसे टीचर किताब लिखते हैं, तो when teachers write book, तो किताब जब लिखते हैं तो टीचर लिख के किसी पब्लिशर को देते हैं कि भाई मेरी किताब पब्लिश होनी है। पब्लिशर अपनी फॉर्मेलिटीज पूरी करके वो किताब पब्लिश करता है। टीचर जाके प्रिंटिंग प्रेस नहीं चलाता है, he writes a book, I mean he writes the content for the book, कोई पब्लिशर से एग्रीमेंट साइन करेगा, उसको देगा, then he will publish and start selling. इसी तरीके से ये जो प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं जैसे एडेक्स है, ये प्लेटफॉर्म जो है ये ऐसे हैं जैसे किताबों के केस में पब्लिशर्स होते हैं। इन प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे जो कोर्सेज होस्ट हो रहे हैं वो कोर्स का कंटेंट टीचर जनरेट कर रहे हैं। सो दिस बिकेम अ आइडिया, और उसके बाद बहुत सारे मूक्स कोर्सेज का कॉन्सेप्ट शुरू हुआ। सो मच सो कि यूजीसी ने मूक्स क्रेडिट फ्रेमवर्क या स्वयं क्रेडिट फ्रेमवर्क बनाया, अलग अलग कंट्रीज ने इसको, कि हम अपने टीचिंग लर्निंग मेथोडोलॉजी में जो अच्छा टीचर है रिटायर हो रहा है उसकी नॉलेज को कैप्चर कर ले, क्योंकि उसके रिटायरमेंट और उसके डेथ के बाद भी उसकी जो नॉलेज है उससे मासेस बेनिफिट होते रहे। इसके लिए ये कॉन्सेप्ट कि भाई हम इसको डिजिटाइज करके उनके लेक्चर्स को और इसको हम एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे प्लेस कर दे और फिर इस प्लेटफॉर्म को एक्सेसिबल कराएं ताकि लोग इसको इस्तेमाल करें और उससे बेनिफिट उठाएं। सो इन दैट वे, अगर मैं जिस इंस्टीट्यूशन में पढ़ा रहा हूं मेरे इंस्टीट्यूशन में कमजोरी है, शॉर्टेज है, रिसोर्सेज है, इस एरिया के टीचर नहीं है, इस एरिया के एक्सपर्टाइज नहीं, डजंट मैटर, हमारे पास अक्रॉस द ग्लोब इस रिलेटेड जो एक्सपर्टाइज है हम उस एक्सपर्टाइज से बेनिफिट ले सकते हैं। और अगर कोई एक्सपर्टाइज हमारे पास है जो प्लेटफॉर्म पे नहीं है तो हम वो बेनिफिट दे भी सकते हैं बाय जनरेटिंग अ कोर्स टू बी होस्टेड ऑन दीज प्लेटफॉर्म्स। तो ये एडवांटेज और ये एडिशनल एडवांटेज ऑफर हुआ थ्रू टेक्नोलॉजी। सो बाय यूज ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी वी आर एबल टू overcome some of the limitations that we had talked about, we had discussed in the beginning of the course. So now as far as some of the other tools are concerned, for example, अब जैसे हमारा, let's talk about national digital resources a bit more. क्या दिख रहा है स्क्रीन पे? कैन समबडी प्लीज आर्टिकुलेट? Spoken tutorial. So you can see here it is an initiative of NME ICT, National Mission on Education through ICT, of erstwhile MHRD, which is now called Ministry of Education, through open source software, right? Audio video tutorials. So we can do a number of, suppose हमारे पास MS Office नहीं है, हम लिब्रे ऑफिस सीखना चाह रहे हैं, तो हम लिब्रे ऑफिस के जो कंपोनेंट्स हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल वर्ड प्रोसेसिंग का जो कंपोनेंट है, वर्ड प्रोसेसर है, उसके बारे में सीखना चाहें तो वी कैन गो टू स्पोकन ट्यूटोरियल एंड स्टार्ट लर्निंग। और वो लर्निंग हम हिंदी में भी सीख सकते हैं, उर्दू में भी सीख सकते हैं, हम रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस में भी सीख सकते हैं, इंग्लिश में भी सीख सकते हैं। तो ये एडवांटेज स्पोकन ट्यूटोरियल में है, दैट्स एन इनिशिएटिव। और हम इसमें जाके वी कैन डू अ नंबर ऑफ, अगर किसी को बॉस लाइनेक्स सीखना हो तो यहाँ पर स्पोकन ट्यूटोरियल है और इतनी सारी लैंग्वेजेस में है। भारत ओपन सोर्स लाइनेक्स सॉफ्टवेयर है, तो ये असमीज में है, बंगाली में है, इंग्लिश में है, गुजराती में, सो मच ऑफ सो। तो सपोज अगर मान लीजिए हमें हिंदी में सीखना है तो वी कैन गो देयर एंड वी कैन we can learn for the. अब यहाँ पे बॉस लाइनेक्स के ऊपर बहुत सारे ट्यूटोरियल आ गए, बॉस लाइनेक्स डेस्कटॉप और पैकेज मैनेजर, बेसिक कमांड, जनरल पर्पस यूटिलिटी. अगर इसको हम प्ले करेंगे तो ये हिंदी में हैंड होल्डिंग और ट्यूटरिंग करेगा. सो दैट्स द एडवांटेज, दैट्स नेशनल रिसोर्स. अगर हमारे पास ट्रेनर नहीं है तो हम इनको यूज करके ट्रेनिंग फैसिलिटेट कर सकते हैं इन टूल्स पे, जो कि ऑलरेडी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने थ्रू वेरियस प्रोजेक्ट्स, ये प्रोजेक्ट आर्टिफैक्ट्स हैव बीन क्रिएटेड, डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज हैव बीन क्रिएटेड एंड दे हैव बीन मेड अवेलेबल. दूसरी बात ये है कि एक आम तौर पे बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम होती है कि हमारे पास लैब की कमी है या लैब स्टाफ के अंदर नॉलेज की कमी है. तो उसके लिए नेशनल डिजिटल रिसोर्स जो है वो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एजुकेशन हैज ब्रॉट आउट समथिंग कॉल्ड वर्चुअल लैब, राइट. तो अब ये वर्चुअल लैब क्या है कि हमारे जैसे प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूशन, हम जानते हैं बहुत सारे प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूशन जहां एडमिशंस कम हो रहे हैं, वहां लैब का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर उतना नहीं हो पा रहा है, बिकॉज दे से दे हैव देयर ओन प्रॉब्लम. दे से दैट वी डोंट हैव दैट फंड, वी आर नॉट गेटिंग फंड्स फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट, सो वी आर नॉट एबल टू सेट अप गुड इक्विपमेंट एटसेट्रा. तो इस प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने के लिए, उनको सपोर्ट करने के लिए मिनिस्ट्री ने दे हैव एस्टैब्लिश्ड वर्चुअल लैब्स, व्हिच मींस कि अगर उनके इंस्टीट्यूशन में वो लैब नहीं है तो थ्रू वर्चुअल लैब वो लर्निंग को एनहांस कर सकते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल अगर हम जाएं कंप्यूटर साइंस एंड इंजीनियरिंग में, तो इसमें बहुत सारे जो है वो कोर्सेज अवेलेबल हैं. आर्टिफिशियल न्यूरल नेटवर्क्स लैब, कंप्यूटेशनल लॉजिस्टिक्स लैब, और उसके बाद इसका बहुत डिटेल जो है. इसी तरीके से जो भी सब्जेक्ट है, आई एम गिविंग जस्ट वन एग्जांपल एज कंप्यूटर साइंस, देयर कुड बी सो मेनी, मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग, इलेक्ट्रिकल, केमिकल साइंसेस, सिविल इंजीनियरिंग, बायोटेक्नोलॉजी एंड बायोमेडिकल इंजीनियरिंग, इतने सारे एक्सपेरिमेंट्स मौजूद हैं. एंड इसके करस्पॉन्डिंग जो लेक्चर, सपोज एक्सपेरिमेंट, बिकॉज एक्चुअली मोस्ट ऑफ दीज एक्सपेरिमेंट्स help us to learn the concepts through or rather to apply the concepts learned in the theory lecture. तो अब अगर मान लीजिए कि बच्चा वो एक्सपेरिमेंट नहीं कर पा रहा है तो मे बी उसका थ्योरेटिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग में कमजोरी है, तो करस्पॉन्डिंग जो एनपीटीएल का वीडियो लेक्चर है वो यहाँ पे जाके यहाँ पे लिंक मौजूद है, बच्चा जाके ही कैन गो टू क्लिक ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर. सो अब हम एनपीटीएल की लिंक में आ गए और यहाँ पर वी कैन गो थ्रू दी वीडियोज ऑल्सो, यहाँ पर पूरा, राइट. सो द करस्पॉन्डिंग इंस्टीट्यूट विच इज मेंटेनिंग. नाउ ये वर्चुअल लैब चल कैसे रही है? ये वर्चुअल लैब गवर्नमेंट ने प्रोजेक्ट फंड किया, किसी पर्टिकुलर इंस्टीट्यूशन को जिसका प्रोजेक्ट अप्रूव हुआ, उनको कहा कि आप एक फिजिकल लैब बनाइए और इस लैब में थ्रू कनेक्टिविटी 24/7 इसको ऑपरेट कराइए. So when it is operating 24/7, at that point in time, it is on physically in one institution, which is the participating institution, और बाकी सारे institution across the country वो इसको use कर रहे हैं. So that is the benefit, the advantage that we can avail through technology by overcoming the shortcomings in our own institutions or the limitation or constraints of the resources by blending our curriculum with the national digital resources in appropriate proportion, in appropriate way, in appropriate in appropriate manner through a process. तो इससे ये बहुत सारे, इसी तरीके से बहुत सारे resources हैं that we can use. Let's say right. We have Sakshat portal. This actually some of the what you call okay. Let's go back. So this portal actually was announced in the launched in 2006 by the then President Dr. Kalam, to whom education was very close to his heart, and he was a true academician. In fact, he died giving a lecture. We all know that he was giving a lecture at one of the IIMs and one of the institutions. He was giving a lecture and he expired them. So he had conceptualized the idea of having an education portal which should offer the education facilitation for the remotest place also. And that's in 2006 he launched the Sakshat portal, and then subsequently from time to time all other stakeholders kept on enriching the portal and enhancing the national digital resources by different funding programs. So with this particular example, we can also use these portals for, there are state open universities, you can see here distance learning. Now presently distance learning is being promoted a lot, and just a minute, some error on one of the links. Okay. Okay, what else we had discussed in, we had EPG Pathshala, right? So let's look at that also. That's another national digital resource that can be used by us in the right proportion. It takes care of so many subjects in so many areas, and the number of resources which are available, so many are available. So based on the area that the participants in this online session belong to, you can explore. For example, if it is law, you can see here 462 digital resources are there, and you can see here are the, suppose it is advanced jurisprudence, and there are some individual 28 lectures are available. So likewise, we can choose what is relevant to us. There are student corners also, students can learn and also do. So what is happening is, basically, now let's get back to the problem of how do we do the assignment for our students. Let's now get back to the discussion. Assignment बच्चों को कैसे करते हैं आप? Let's hear from the participants. How do we do the assignment for our students? कुछ assignment देते हैं ना? We all give some assignment, right?
Sir, we are giving topic to the student whenever we are giving assignment.
Okay. तो ये बताइए कि assignment कितना, मतलब स्टूडेंट आपस में कॉपी करते हैं कि नहीं करते हैं?
सर करते हैं सर।
तो इसका सोल्यूशन है, इसका असाइनमेंट का मकसद है कि बच्चे की लर्निंग इनहांस हो। इसके बहुत सारे सोल्यूशंस होंगे, कुछ हम भी करते हैं, आप भी, आपके पास भी आइडियाज होंगे, यू विल हैव बेटर आइडियाज।
सर, we have a plagiarism software in our university. So
वो ठीक है, वो पॉइंट अंडरस्टैंड है कि वो एक ने किया और 10 ने कॉपी कर लिया, ठीक है। एक जो है पैराफ्रेज है तो 10 ने कॉपी कर लिया। So what probably you can think of better ideas. ये जो हमने अभी नेशनल डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज के लिंक्स देखे हैं, इसमें अलग अलग ग्रुप्स को अलग अलग टॉपिक्स दे सकते हैं कि आप ये डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज को गो थ्रू कीजिए और इसके बाद आप हमें वाइवा दीजिए या हमें कोई इसकी ट्रांसक्रिप्ट बनाइए। जब सबके अलग अलग होंगे तो कॉपी अमंग द स्टूडेंट जो अवॉइड होगा। दूसरी बात यह है कि असाइनमेंट आप हैंड रिटन जमा कीजिए। जब वो हैंड रिटन जमा करेंगे तो दे विल बी कंपेल्ड टू गो थ्रू इट, और जब वो हैंड रिटन जमा करेंगे तो वो उनकी मजबूरी होगी कि वो उसको पढ़ें। हम ये चाह रहे हैं कि वो पढ़ें, वो सब्जेक्ट को गो थ्रू करें, राइट। तो अगर वो कॉपी भी करने की कोशिश कर रहा है और अपनी हैंड राइटिंग में लिख रहा है, सो एटलीस्ट ही विल बी गोइंग थ्रू द कंटेंट। इस तरह की कोई चीज हम लोग कर सकते हैं इन द असाइनमेंट, सो दैट एक ने वर्ड में किया, दूसरे ने कॉपी किया, प्रिंट करके सबमिट कर दिया, दैट कैन बी अवॉइडेड। सो I mean, what we do, I'll just showcase one sample example.
मोस्टली हैंड रिटन ही लेते हैं और बोलते हैं कि रेफरेंस लिखना है, आप रेफरेंस लिखना है कि आपने कंटेंट दिया है, बुक से लिया है।
एक मिनट, ये जो है क्या विजिबल है आपके स्क्रीन पे?
सर अभी नहीं आ रहा, कुछ भी
नहीं आ रहा। Just a minute. Nothing is visible, huh?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Just a minute. अभी विजिबल है?
No, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is actually our LMS portal, which is the learning management system that we have in AMU. And in this LMS, every teacher has a login ID and password through a process, and every student has a login ID and password through a process. So once the courses are, just let me log in as my own account for the courses that I'm just showcase one example. Now here is the here is, for example, a course which is currently let's say this is the course. Now if we have an LMS, what if problem it solves, जैसे आपने अभी देखा होगा कुछ दिन पहले जब we were in the COVID pandemic, बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स जो है, अब हमने कोई असाइनमेंट दिया बच्चे को, बच्चा असाइनमेंट कर रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा है, it will be visible to us. For example, these are the actual students. So I have just logged in 12 seconds before, right? So I have logged into this portal. Now this student logged 7 days. यहाँ मैंने portal, I am not giving anything physical. Portal पे assignment दिया या portal पे कोई हमने task assign किया. Now this student मुझसे orally कह रहा सर मैंने कर लिया है, but I can see he has logged 7 days back, 13 hours back, right? This student had not even logged once, not even once. So some students have never logged into their learning. So assignment हम वहां दे रहे हैं, assignment आप वहां upload कीजिए, या quiz है, इसके अलावा कोई relevant online material है जो बच्चा use कर सकता है. For example, कोई ऑनलाइन लिंक है जो रेलेवेंट है बच्चे के लिए, so he can use that. So it will become one stop shop for the student for all its learning needs. तो इस तरह से हम बहुत सारी चीजें कर सकते हैं जिससे बच्चे को he will have help in going through. Now let's look at so it has all the let me just showcase an example of last year. So last year I taught some course, and it's basically one-stop shop where all announcements can happen. All here is any announcement that we do. For example, this is the sessional marks we announce. So we don't have, so student will know immediately, something like that. So it's a one-stop shop. So we can use an LMS portal to interact with the student, even if he is not in the class. We can upload the material, we can upload the slides, and then the students can go through. He can download the slide and he can go through the slide, something like that. So this will make the student use the learning management system as one-stop shop, and we can have discussion forums, we can have quizzes, lots and lots of the limitations. We can create group among the student to discuss the subject and place it here, question answer. It can be moderated by the teacher. Likewise, so assignment. So here is actually a actual example of assignment. For example, I have given some assignment to my students saying that it will be accepted only in his or her own handwriting. Otherwise, you will not get. So here you can see here the students have submitted the assignment. When I open it, you can see student has submitted in his own handwriting, and I can see here student can. Here is the handwritten assignment that he has written. So even if he has copied from somebody, he is actually writing in his own writing. So after that, he can take a photo and upload it. So this tries to reduce some of the problems. I'm sure you can have better ideas. We have lots and lots of digital resources where the students can be given some specific tasks and then do it in handwriting and submit. So proper blending of digital and physical modes in learning helps to ensure that the requisite moderation is possible. If we just keep everything in digital mode, then he may just copy, or he may join the classes and sleep. He may join the online classes and switch off the camera and sleep. We would have seen this. So if we are doing online classes, maybe we keep on interacting with the student, we keep on asking questions just to probe whether he is participating or not. In a physical classroom, we have face-to-face contact. So there are, ways and means to blend the two, the technology resources as well as the physical resources in the appropriate proportion so as to achieve the objectives. Any questions? We have got 3 more minutes. So any questions, if any, please. Any questions from the participants in what we have discussed so far? Please go ahead. Any questions?
How should we train?
No, sir.
If teacher review?
Pardon?
Sir, students are more innovative than teachers. They
How to
always they make a new
how to write,
innovations
sir,
how to beat the teacher's
the
idea.
teacher review?
Or
The teacher review idea.
Okay, so fine. We will talk about it. See, students are more innovative than teachers because in the present circumstances, you might have seen that the young kids in the home, the grandfather asking his grandson, say, I have a problem in my mobile, can you please look into it? And he is able to look into it and solve it, isn't it? That's the actually 21st century, the youngsters, they are inquisitive, they are innovative. That is why the idea of tapping their creativity into the learning process. Since you have asked a question, I remembered something, so let me share with you. There is something called, just give me 1 minute. Showcase, then you can. Just 1 minute. Is my screen visible?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is
So, precisely for capturing the innovative and inquisitive mind of the students and blending it into the learning process, one of the professors from IIT Mumbai had done a research and brought out a curriculum called Computer Masti. So this, what is visible on your screen right now, this Computer Masti curriculum, because the students will play games, there's no doubt about it. But if we make that as a part of curriculum itself, then through that process, we will be engaging their inquisitiveness into the learning process. So some of the smart schools across the country have adopted Computer Masti curriculum and started using it in their computer teaching right from KG until class 12th. So they have very well structured syllabus, books, experiments, and they use fast technologies. For example, there's a language called Scratch, which is a free and open source fast software through which the students are being asked to do programming in 3rd and 4th and 5th. And what programming they are doing? They will be playing game. So when they are playing game, they are asked that you have to play game by you writing certain commands. So they will be thinking logically, applying the logics. So by the time these students pass out their high school and enter, they are very well ready to take up these challenges in their higher education. Many institutions, smart institutions, schools have adopted this curriculum. So I will encourage all the participants to please have a look at this example and try to see if there is something that we can get benefited. We can ask for a demo. Then what this professor has done, he has prepared this curriculum from class 1st to class 12th each. So Computer Masti, computer books for class 1, grade 2, grade 3 up to 12. So when a school is running, they don't know which curriculum to adopt for computer. Simply go for Computer Masti curriculum right from class 1 to class 12 and you will see wonders. Obviously, then the question will be, how do we train our teachers? Because we have adopted a curriculum, but we don't have expertise. So they do have a package. They depute people to conduct these classes. They do some charge for it. I suppose they have a educational model where they deploy computer teachers to engage students to teach them, because we have a fantastic curriculum, but the teacher itself is not equipped. So they will say we have curriculum, but who will teach, who will support, who will guide the student? So they do deploy some support instructors who actually take care of it. So they have a different models based on what kind of infrastructure, what kind of skill set of the computer teachers in the schools are available. So through it, this is the, as far as the relates to the question that students are more innovative than the teachers. True, young minds are more inquisitive, but we have to use them for the contribution to knowledge, for the enrichment of their own skills, and preparing them as a responsible citizens after they pass out. So in order to ensure that there are things like computer mastery which should be incorporated. Now coming back to the research, now literature review. Now let me just give me 1 minute. How do we let me share my screen and then we'll talk. What is visible in the screen right now?
कुछ भी नहीं दिख रहा था।
कुछ भी नहीं।
Just a minute. Okay, so what is visible? Is the directory of open access journal available?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So if we want to do literature review, we'll have to search, we'll have to do some, apply certain, there are two kind of searches. Just to simplify things, there are two kind of searches. One is the subject search, the other is keyword search, right? So if the student knows exactly the keywords, then he can go and search the articles in the journals. Now, one of the problems that some of the other participants mentioned in other groups was, sir, हमारे पास journal का access नहीं है, हमारा institution में पैसा नहीं है, we are not able to access good journals. This is the common problems that some of you have also mentioned that. So there is something called open access journals. In fact, good journals are now promoting open access, and there is a directory called DOAJ, which is right now visible on your screen. So it is available in 80 languages in 135 countries, and so many journals and articles. You can see the numbers, and number keeps growing. So we can search those keywords here. We can identify the latest published work and then move. Apart from that, we can search the relevant databases. For example, we have for medical science, we have, can somebody name some of the databases that you are aware? What are the databases that the participants are aware?
Sir, I mainly know about the law legal databases. SCC Online, HEN Online, Manu Patra. These are the legal databases, sir, which we know.
Can you mention it in the chat box for the benefit of others so that they can also copy? Because you have certain information others may have. For medical science, we have, I guess, PubMed is there for medical science, right? And we have, then what else? We have okay. So depending on the different areas, there are some databases which needs to be searched. And with one word of caution, there are some databases that promote illegal download. Please don't do that. That will be unethical and it will be illegal. So kindly don't do that. In case if you are looking for a paper, write to the author. Go to Google Scholar, find out the author's contact, or write to him or her. Say that I am looking for this paper. I don't have access. Would you mind sharing? And if author agrees, you have the copy. That's one option. The other is look for the open access, and third is obviously the subscription that the institution may provide. and basically there are there are research forums where we can see. Apart from that, we have Scopus, Elsevier, and Web of so many indexes that we can search. So I think we have already crossed the budgeted time. So I wish we would have continued, but time is not permitting us. So I'd like to thank you for your patience. Any more? I suppose what where we started with the problems we have.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Look at the
Thank you,
problems.
sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
To some extent to reduce
Thank
the
you,
problem.
sir.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
आपने
Thank you.
इतना कुछ एक बार में
Thank you.
बता दिया, बहुत सारी चीजें तो याद नहीं
Thank you,
रहेंगी।
sir.
अगर हमें किसी काम से आपसे बात करना हो तो सर चले गए, सर एग्जिट हो गए लगता।
लेफ्ट कर गए शायद।
इतना सारा सर ने बता दिया और बहुत अच्छी सारी चीजें थी,
बहुत अच्छी सारी चीज थी, बट एक क्वेश्चन सर से जब तक पूछे सर ने लेफ्ट ही कर दिया। बहुत सारे पेपर्स, जर्नल पेपर खुलते नहीं ना स्कोपस या एचसीआई में।
यस मैम, और सारी काम की बातें थी इसमें। चलिए फिर आगे, अभी फिर ज्वाइन करना है 10 मिनट में।
मैम आज 3:30 बजे से पेपर होने वाला था, कोई न्यूज़ है?
न्यूज़ तो है, यही है कि 3:30 बजे ज्वाइन
अभी तक ऐसी कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन ग्रुप में नहीं आई है, कम से कम आना चाहिए।
नहीं है, एटलीस्ट एक इन्फॉर्मेशन तो आई थिंक मॉर्निंग में
कोई
दे
काम
देना।
होता है कभी कभी कि चलो ठीक है, टाइम उसी हिसाब से अरेंज किया जाता है।
3 क्लास आई, वैसे ही इसकी भी न्यूज आ जाती।
हाँ, ये तो डालना चाहिए था सर को, फिर भी अपने से हम लोग एक दूसरे को अलर्ट कर लें, वो ज्यादा बेटर है। अभी
टाइम टेबल में दिया है ना, तो वो
पूछा ना क्या
इसके लिए मैं
पेपर है, तो ऐसे बहुत सारे लोग हो सकते हैं जिन्हें पता ना हो और एग्जिट भी कर जाते हैं, जल्दी लेफ्ट भी कर जाते हैं लोग।
समस्या यही है ना मैम, फिर वो कह देंगे ना कि आपकी जिम्मेदारी है, हमने तो आपको दिया था।
अलर्ट रहने की।
जी जी जी, ठीक है मैम, ठीक है, थैंक यू।
ओके, बाय।